You know that feeling when a word just keeps showing up? Not because you're looking for it, but because it's already happening and you're finally noticing? That's what happened to me in the last months of 2025. The word collaboration kept appearing in conversations with trusted advisors, in reflections about my business, in the patterns I was noticing about where my work was heading. It wasn't forced. It wasn't like recognizing something that had already begun. Did you know that trauma impacts how we navigate our careers, but most career advice ignores this reality? Imagine feeling confident and safe at work while honoring your healing journey. Welcome to your Trauma Wise Career Guide, the podcast that reimagines career development for trauma survivors. I'm your host, Cindy Bennett, a trauma survivor turned trauma-informed career coach and founder of the Resilient Career Academy. If you're navigating your career while honoring your healing journey, you are in the right place. Today, we're exploring what happens when community becomes collaboration, when we move from supporting each other's individual journeys to actually building something together. If you're someone who spent years learning to trust yourself, to establish boundaries, to protect your authentic identity, the idea of sharing control might feel revolutionary or terrifying, maybe both. Because collaboration asks us to do something vulnerable, to bring our full selves to the table and allow ourselves to be shaped by the process of creating together. For trauma survivors who fought so hard to find safety and autonomy, collaboration is an act of profound courage. It's saying, I trust you enough to share control. I'm willing to be changed by this process. What we create together matters more than what I could protect alone. So let's explore what that actually means. Let me start with what collaboration actually is, because I think we use this word a lot without really understanding what makes it different from just working alongside people. At its core, collaboration means working jointly with others to produce or create something. It comes from the Latin collaborare, to labor together. The dictionary defines it as the action of working with someone to produce or create something. But here's what I love. Brené Brown says, collaboration is not about getting people to do what you want. It's about creating a space where everyone can show up, contribute, and feel ownership over the outcome. That piece about feel ownership over the outcome, that's what distinguishes true collaboration from cooperation or coordination. Let me break this down because the differences matter. In cooperation, we work alongside each other toward compatible goals. We're doing our own thing, but helping each other. Think of it like runners in a race. We might encourage each other, even pace each other, but we're each running our own race. In coordination, we organize our efforts so they don't conflict. We're making sure our individual work fits together smoothly, like departments in a company making sure their timelines align. Everyone's still working on their own piece. But collaboration? Collaboration involves shared ownership, shared decision-making, and shared creation of something new. Something that wouldn't exist through individual effort alone. It's not just, I'll do my part and you do yours. It's, let's figure out together what we're building and how we'll build it. And here's what makes collaboration vulnerable, especially for trauma survivors. It requires the willingness to be influenced and changed by others' input, and some surrender of complete control. Let that sit for a moment. For someone who spent years learning to trust their own authentic identity, the idea of surrendering control while still maintaining that identity feels revolutionary. Because here's what collaboration doesn't ask. It doesn't ask you to become a chameleon. It doesn't ask you to mold yourself to others' expectations or lose yourself in the group dynamic. What it does ask is for you to bring your full self to the table and allow that self to be shaped by the process of creating together. Your authentic identity doesn't disappear in collaboration. It contributes to and is enriched by the collective creation. Think about it this way. When you collaborate, you're not erasing your voice. You're adding your voice to a chorus. And yes, you might adjust your pitch or timing based on what others are doing, but that adjustment doesn't diminish you, it creates harmony. For those of us who've experienced trauma, this requires deep trust because our trauma taught us that influence often meant harm, that being changed by others wasn't safe, that surrendering control led to loss of self. Collaboration asks us to risk something different, to believe that being influenced can enrich rather than erase us, that sharing control can create safety through mutual investment rather than threatening it through vulnerability. That's profound courage. So why is collaboration my word for 2026? Because it continues a progression that's been building year by year. Let me walk you through it, because I think seeing the progression might help you understand why collaboration can't happen without the foundation that comes before it. In 2023, my word was unhindered. That year was about removing the obstacles of my past trauma that stood in the way of my healing journey. It was about achieving a felt sense of safety in my body for the first time, something I never thought possible. I couldn't have chosen collaboration in 2023. I was still learning to exist without constant guard. I was discovering what it felt like to not be hindered by hypervigilance, by shame, by the protective mechanisms that had kept me safe, but also kept me small. That year gave me something crucial, the freedom to just be, to experience my own authentic identity without the interference of trauma responses I couldn't control. And from that freedom, I could move to connection. In 2024, my word was connection. After achieving that felt sense of safety in 2023, I was finally free to build genuine relationships. Connection meant I connected to myself first, really understanding who I was without the trauma responses running the show. And from that self-connection, I could connect with others. The relationships I already had became deeper. I became more open to connecting with new people, moving beyond the mile-wide, inch-deep relationships that had characterized my professional life for so long. Connection meant I could finally be seen, heard, and valued without the constant guard that trauma had required of me. For the first time, I experienced true belonging, not just joining groups or teams, but an internal sense of home. I wasn't performing belonging, I was experiencing it. I learned individual connections, no matter how deep, can still feel isolated. You can have meaningful one-on-one relationships and still feel like you're navigating your journey alone. That's where community came in. In 2025, my word was community. With my authentic identity solidly in place and the capacity for genuine connection established, I could finally look outward with different eyes. I found my people, other trauma survivors who understood that career development isn't one size fits all, other professionals who got that going slow isn't going backward. Community meant we could have a group of like-minded people with similar goals walking on this courageous journey together. We learned that safety comes through connection and mutual protection rather than isolation. I built spaces where we could support each other's growth without competition or comparison, where we could come out of our self-imposed armor because we felt safe enough to take a chance. Community was beautiful. It was necessary. It gave us the experience of not being alone in our struggles or our aspirations. But as the year progressed, I noticed something. We were still operating somewhat independently within the community. We were supporting each other's individual journeys, cheering each other on, offering encouragement and insight. We were cooperating beautifully, but we weren't yet collaborating. Which brings us to 2026 and collaboration. Collaboration is where connection and community become co-creation. It's not enough to know people or even support each other while we each work on our own goals. This year is about building together, combining our different strengths, perspectives, and wisdom to create something none of us could build alone. Collaboration means we're no longer just supporting individual journeys. We're designing and building shared spaces, frameworks, and solutions that benefit everyone. Can you see how each word prepared me for the next? I couldn't collaborate without the safety and mutual support of community. I couldn't build community without first connecting to my authentic identity and then to others. I couldn't connect authentically without first becoming unhindered from my past trauma. And now, standing on this foundation that's been building year by year, I can't imagine moving forward any other way. The challenges we face as trauma survivors navigating career development are too complex, too multifaceted for any one person to solve alone. We need each other's perspectives. We need each other's strengths. We need to build together. I'm still discovering what collaboration will mean in practice, but I can already feel it shifting how I think about my work. Maybe it looks like co-creating solutions with clients instead of providing answers. Instead of me designing a framework, what if we build it together based on your lived experience and wisdom? Maybe it's collaborating with other professionals who support trauma survivors, therapists, coaches, and advocates to build something together that serves our shared community better. What could we create if we pooled our expertise instead of working in silos? Maybe it's inviting others into problem-solving process for challenges I've been trying to tackle alone. What if the questions I'm wrestling with aren't just mine to answer? Maybe it's about building partnerships that expand what's possible beyond what I can do on my own. I suspect collaboration will show up in unexpected places, in how I develop programs, in how I approach my writing, in how I think about serving the trauma survivor community. The beautiful thing about choosing a word for the year is that it reveals itself gradually, showing you where it's needed most. So here's what I'm curious about. What does collaboration mean to you in your career journey? Where are you craving co-creation instead of solo struggle? What challenges are you facing that might benefit from collective wisdom rather than individual problem solving? Here's what I'm learning. Collaboration doesn't diminish your authentic identity or your hard-won autonomy. It enriches both. When you bring your full self to a collaborative process, you're not losing yourself. You're discovering new dimensions of yourself through the creative friction of building with others. And for trauma survivors, that's revolutionary. We've spent so long protecting ourselves, building walls, maintaining control to stay safe. Collaboration asks us to risk something different. To believe that safety can come through shared investment, that our authentic selves can be enhanced rather than erased by genuine partnership. If you're ready to explore what collaboration might look like in your career development, I invite you to book a discovery call. Let's talk about how working together, truly collaborating on your career growth, might create something you couldn't build alone. You can find the link in the show notes. Until next time, remember, your trauma recovery has given you wisdom that the world needs. You don't have to build your career alone. In fact, what you create in collaboration might be exactly what you and others need most. Thank you for listening to Your Trauma Wise Career Guide. I'll see you next time. You're not walking this path alone. Every step you take toward a trauma-wise career is an act of courage, and I'm here cheering you on. If today's episode resonated with you, share it with another survivor who needs to hear this message. Together, we're rewriting the rules of career success. Keep rising, keep healing, keep building.